Good evening. Thanks for joining us for the first of two candidates forums. Let me read a letter that Vicki Perrin, or an email, sorry, that Vicki Perrin, I believe, sent to all the candidates. Looks like all of them are on here. About the rules for tonight's, debate or forum. The plan is for each candidate to be introduced and given 2 minutes to say a few opening words. There will be cards at the entrance table. I think you guys saw them in the back, where residents can write down and submit questions. The questions can be directed at a specific candidate, but all candidates will be given time to respond as well if they choose. If we run out of resident questions, which I don't think we're going to have a problem with tonight, we've got quite a few. The candidates will be able to mingle and talk with the residents until 7:30 p.m. Vicki, for the responses, they're going to have 1 minute.
1 minute?
And where is the card? So just, there's two cards. Lisa has one that will show you 15 seconds, the yellow card, and then the red to end so we can move through the candidates. We're going to attempt to ask all these questions, and in the order that I've got them right here. I would ask you if there's anything that's a personal attack or something that's not appropriate to be read, I will ask someone to come look, and I don't guess the name's on here, but give you a chance to rephrase that question. Sound good? You guys ready? All right, we'll start. It's in the order that it's on the ballot, right? So can you start with your 2 minutes, and then we'll just work our way across the table. So Vicki, you're up.
Okay, so my name is, wow, I'm loud. My name is Vicki Marsden. I've been a resident of the island for 7.5 years. For the last 5.5, I've been a homeowner and a member of the PIPOA. I'm a process improvement specialist and an independent contractor, so I work for myself. I have no other ties to any other company or business. I decided to run because I saw some things that I didn't like as a homeowner, and about 2 or so years ago, I felt that maybe there were things like nepotism, and I had come to some meetings and asked some questions and had offered my support for free, and I was not taken up on the offer. And so I thought, well, I can be on the board for free too and do the same thing. My main focus is helping businesses get better. I don't sell a product, I sell them my brain and my time with a model, a best business practices model that's proven. And my first thing that I would do would be to audit against the best business practices model, see what processes and procedures we're missing and what we need to do, and then work on that. I'm a dual citizen, just in case anyone's interested. So there are 2 countries that want me, which is more than most people. And I've been in the US 18 years.
I'm Kate Walker. I've lived in Corpus Christi for 30 years. I've been a homeowner here on the island for 2 years. Married my awesome husband for 38 years. I'm a lawyer. I've practiced law for 32 years. 24 of those years was as a briefing attorney for a federal judge. When he retired a few years ago, I opened my own law office, so I'm a solo practitioner. I have just loved living down here on the island. It's just great people. And really, I decided to run because I think I can be an asset to the board. I think that the board needs some positive leadership, an independent, fresh view of things. I'd like to heal our community some. I think I would be an asset because of my experience listening to issues, listening to both sides of issues, and making the best possible decision based on the input. And I think that's what our board should do. I think our board should be run like a business. And I would do that. I would provide positive, independent leadership.
Come on. Good evening. I'm Nick Colosi. If you'll allow me to use the cheat sheet so I don't forget what I'd like to say to you. You've all had a chance to read my resumes, my background, so I would like to tell you what I'm not. I do not work for an engineering company. I am not a builder. I am not a contractor. I am not a realtor. I have no business interests. I am just a homeowner like all of you. I want to return the POA to what it's supposed to be, a property owners association, not a private club of the good old boys and the good old girls. I'd like to start open meetings where everyone has something to say. Everyone is invited to all meetings and all committee meetings. We do not want you to have 3 minutes to speak and then be ignored. I do not want to have a meeting where you're just told the reports that were decided upon in a committee meeting or a board meeting that you knew nothing about. I want to have a compliance committee that the members decide what the rules are, not one person. Then those rules will be administered consistently to everyone in a fair manner. I don't need 3 inspectors that can't afford security. You all live on the island. You see something wrong, you call the office, and the compliance committee looks into it for you. I want open books. Anyone can walk in and look at any papers, any checkbooks, see what is going on. I want to change that there will be no more no-bid contracts. Everything is open. If you are happy with the way you're treated, then please vote for the incumbents and the people who are supported by the board. If you're not happy, I ask you to vote for me, for Vicki, and for Marta. I want you to realize that you tell me what to do. I don't tell you. I report to you. You do not report to me. I would like to return the board to be an organization by the people, for the people, and with the people.
Oh, what? Excuse me?
Good evening. I know some of you. I do not know all of you. I'm Nancy Tressa. We've lived on the island here for about 20 years. We've been in the coastal bend for 30, living in Rockport and also working in Port Aransas. I've been on the board through lots of changes and lots of growth. I'm going to ask you a question that seems to be on some signs right now. It says, have you had enough? Well, I'm asking for your support if you've had enough of things like a balanced budget over the past 10 years. If you've had enough of consistent board leadership that has done their level best through very trying times and lots of consternation and ugliness through the social media. We have held our heads high. We are not perfect. We've never claimed to be perfect. I'd also ask you if you've had enough of things like the improvements on Whitecap, Commodores, landscape-wise. If you've had enough of a consistent, organized bulkhead repair system that has maintained our bulkheads in a manner in which we had very little substantial damage through a Category 4 hurricane. Now granted, it didn't hit as hard here, but it could have. I guess I could go on, but I won't. I want your support. I'd like to be on the board to continue to try to heal and stop some of the negativity. Thank you.
Marta, if I can interrupt just real quickly. JR is sick with the flu. He's the next one on the ballot, right?
Yes.
Next to you. But I think he sent a letter for Becky to read, so we'll give him a couple minutes while he's sitting in bed.
It would be my great pleasure to be a member of the board, and I would like to take my role seriously. As a member of the community and with 2 children, I care a great deal what goes on in the community from the perspective of a parent, homeowner, and taxpayer. I want all of our members to experience island living at its best. I believe that everyone living out here should have a voice and an opportunity to be heard. I want to ensure the members of the community have the best representation and the resources and atmosphere they need to enjoy our little slice of heaven out here. Over the past 15 years, there have been many changes to the membership of the board. The results of these changes have resulted in some significant improvements around the island, and for the most part, I have been very happy with the decision, things, and the direction they are going. Currently, we have a group of board members that work very well together, trust one another, and understand the role that the board plays within our community. I had the opportunity to fill in on the board for 6 months when a board member stepped down, and I can assure you there were no personal agendas or ill will directed towards the homeowners. Each board member is dedicated to doing the right thing for the betterment of our entire membership. It's not an easy job. If it was, everyone would want to be a part of it. There will always be issues that aren't going to be accepted by everyone. Has everything been perfect? No. Has everyone been happy with every decision? No. What's done is done. Can't change history. Using social media to attack the board is not an effective manner to communicate one's thoughts. Fake news, misinformation, and dividing the membership will only delay progress on our island and interfere with the common vision and sense of belonging that we as residents ultimately strive to achieve. I feel my experience and strength is working with people and communicating effectively. Communication is one of the most important aspects of a successful organization, and I think that the area that needs most attention in our membership. Listening to the homeowners is imperative, and ensuring that they get the most accurate and factual information is equally important. I promise that if I am elected, I will do everything possible to help bring our community back together again and ensure that most accurate and up-to-date information is being disseminated to you. The divisionness that is being fostered by members of our community needs to stop. We need to work together towards common goals to make our island great again. Thank you for your support.
Good evening. I am Marta Sprout, and I'm running for one reason. I'm running so that you have a voice. We have all seen, I'm just going to put the white elephant that we all know about. The anger on the island is off the Richter scale. And it's not because people are crazy or extraordinarily mean. These are people that don't normally get this mad. They are angry for a reason. The only way to diffuse that and get down to being productive is to listen to them. They have genuine, real concerns. They've asked repeatedly to have those concerns addressed, and yet they have seen consistent patterns of wasted money. They have seen compliance programs that allow some properties to fall in complete disrepair, while the property of the month gets both the Yard of the Month award and a compliance violation in the same mailing. When you have that kind of thing going wrong, people are going to be upset. But I can tell you from my experience in managing large businesses and medical practices, I walked into chaos. People were angry. People had differing views. And by the way, I don't have a problem with that, because every single person has truth in what they're saying. What you have to do is look beyond the emotion and get down to resolving their issues. When that happens, folks, we will have healing and we will be able to move forward, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
most of y'all know me. My name is Leslie Hess. I'm currently serving on the board. My husband and I have been married for going on 33 years. I'm very fortunate. We used to come and vacation down here, and we knew that this was our little piece of paradise that we wanted to come back to. We bought the land about 10 years ago. We built our house, and we have just never regretted a moment, even in spite of some of the times when things aren't rolling as well as we want them to. But that's part of being in a community and going to work forward. In my business career, I have been a part of, for most of the career, part of administration, and been very fortunate to go into companies and help turn them around, help them find their way. And that's something that I think I've been striving to do as we've served on this board. It's been a difficult year. It's been a really difficult year, but it hasn't been for naught. I do believe that the members of the board that I have served with integrity. I know that some of them don't meet everybody's needs, and I know that we can't make everybody happy with everything, but I think that we need to continue moving forward. I base my decisions, most people know me as a rebel. I have no problem taking on something that I don't think is right. I'll take it on. I'll I'll investigate. I'll spend the time that it takes to find out what the solutions are, and to hopefully keep moving those things forward. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for this year. We need a year of healing. We need a year of bringing the community back together. We need a year of using our leadership skills in a positive manner. If we try to bring things forward and create a chaos, it never works. So we need to bring things back together in a positive manner and work together as a community, and remember that we're all neighbors and we need to work together to make it an even better community. It's our piece of paradise. And so for that reason, I hope that you will consider allowing me to continue on this board. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. I'm going to jump right into these questions, and then if you will, everybody has a chance to answer or rebut. Please keep it to 1 minute. We do have a pretty large stack. So I'm going to start off, first one on the deck here, for Leslie Hess and Nancy Tressa. Since it would seem a rather flagrant conflict of interest, shouldn't you relinquish any and all proxies in your possession in order for the election to appear fair? We'll start with Nancy, you're up first, and then we'll move to Leslie, and then anybody that wants to take a minute to rebut. Or add to.
Interesting question. I don't think, to my best of my knowledge, I don't think our bylaws prohibit me voting the proxies, even though I'm running. I don't think it's mandatory that I give up my proxy. So, sorry.
Thank you, Leslie, or Nancy. Leslie?
The proxies that I receive are from people that I know. They know me. They know how I'm going to vote. They know that I'm going to vote how they would vote. They trust my judgment. They trust my opinion. I'm not hiding anything from them. They know who I'm going to vote for when they give me those proxies. So I think that it's perfectly natural for someone, whether they're running for candidacy or not, if they're on the board, that these individuals should be able to give their proxy to someone that is going to vote in the manner that they want them to vote.
All right, we'll go from this side of the table down that way. Anybody that wants to add to? All right, Marta?
There is a difference between what is legal and what is right. To have the names of two candidates listed in the proxy section gives them a distinct advantage over other candidates. That's the problem. Not that they don't individually have friends that trust them. Of course they do. But that particular section creates a disadvantage and an unlevel playing field. Therein lies the problem.
Okay, next question to all members. I recently called the POA office to get my next door property owner's contact info after Harvey. My request was denied. How do you feel about that? And we'll go again in order. Vicki?
Did you just say that they contacted the POA office for the next door neighbour?
Yes, I recently called the POA office to get my next door property owner's contact information after Harvey. My request was denied. How do you feel about that?
I'm not actually sure. I'm sorry. I wish I knew more than that. I would think that it would be illegal to give out personal information, so I would say no, but I would have to ask someone to be sure.
I don't know that I want somebody to just call and claim to be my neighbor and get my personal information, so I think that would be an appropriate way to handle that. Your next door neighbor ought to have your contact information.
Next door neighbor, the procedure would be that you ask someone to invite you. And you would ask someone who's obviously your friend. And then if that person says, yes, I will sponsor you, next door puts out your name and your address to that person and said, do you know them? That's a simple way. I don't know why they would have called the POA office, but I just don't want my information given out. I would hope this person knows somebody.
I would ask the person that wrote that, were they talking about next door, the social media thing, or it's they? So I agree, it's confidentiality. I think most of us should know a neighbor on our cul-de-sac street or whatever. Then if we're concerned about our property, we need to leave information of where we are and how we can be reached in that manner. I certainly don't want my information just out there for anybody. Not that I've got anything to hide, but it just makes common sense, which sometimes is lacking, that you contact somebody in your neighborhood that you trust, that you will go and check on your property for you. I don't think it's the POA's responsibility to give out that information. I don't think that's good practice.
Here's where a little creative thinking would go a long way. If you get a request like that, why not contact the property owner and say your neighbor's trying to get in touch with you, here is his phone number, he's trying to give you information about your property. It would take 2 seconds, it's common sense, it's reasonable, and it's practical, and you don't have to worry about violating anyone's confidentiality.
I do believe that POA is not allowed to give out phone numbers. They can give the addresses, as everybody knows, you can get the address list. But you can't give out phone numbers. And again, this goes back to my thought process of community. We need to build a stronger community where we've built that network of who your neighbors are and what their phone numbers are and how you can reach them, and particularly when an emergent situation is arising. I think if they were looking for the next door neighbors to be able to see something about their home or something of that nature, they also could have asked someone from the POA. The POA did have some folks out and about, and they knew who was online and who was out actually going out and doing some of those searches for to be able to see how people's homes were doing. So I think that there's so many different ways that we can reach them without putting the POA in that position.
All right. For Leslie Hess and Nancy Tressa, what is the reasoning behind not posting meeting schedules annually in advance? Why are meeting minutes not posted after meetings occur?
Okay, you want me to go first?
Nancy, you're up.
Okay. First of all, the agendas for the POA meetings are always posted, I believe, 72 hours ahead of time on the website, as well as they are available at the office in paper copy. As far as committee meetings are concerned, the agendas are given to the POA executive coordinator to be posted at the meetings. Their agendas are open. Our meetings are open. The two committees that I serve on, one is the liaison, which I have no vote, is the architectural committee. I'm just there as a board member, but I have no vote, no say. The other committee that I'm on is Canals and Waterways, and our committee chair is working diligently to get those agendas in a timely fashion to Becky so they can be published. Again, those meetings are open. I believe Marvin came to one of them recently, so did Richard Pittman before he joined the committee. So I think they're pretty well documented. Again, remember, we are human beings. We do not get paid for this position. It is not a 24-hour job for us. We do the very, very best we can. So if there's a question, call the POA office and say, look, I need the agenda. And I'm sure you get it, you'll get it. Not a big deal.
Can't speak to the agenda of the Waterways and Canals or of the ACC, other than an agenda may not always be, you know, particularly like the ACC, I know that they're working on, it depends on how many plans they have in front of them that they need to address. I can't speak to the Compliance Committee. As we spoke at the annual meeting, we talked about the fact that when that particular committee was started, it was a very high profile, high anger levels at the time on compliance. And I know that when those committee members started, one of their first concerns was, first of all, were they even covered by insurance, because so many people were so angry. And so they asked for closed meetings. We announced that it was going to be closed meetings. We don't always post an agenda, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Some of them we do, some of them we don't. Our meetings change from time to time based on our volunteers' schedules, and they move based on our volunteers' schedules as to what their availability is so that we can accommodate, since they are volunteers.
Okay, anybody else want to add to before we move on? All right, this next question is to Nick Colosi. It's more of a statement than a question, and then any board member can add your thoughts. Nick Colosi posted on Nextdoor about the security of the ballot box. He accused board members and staff of looking at ballots. Please straighten that up. So, Nick, you may want to clarify, and then whoever
I
wants.
did not accuse. I said that the situation made it convenient and possible, which could create an election. I did not say it was being done. I said the possibility is there. It should be handled by a totally independent group where no board member and no candidate has any way of seeing how the votes are coming in.
Not true. Right. That's not true.
Does anybody want to add to, or Vicki?
I absolutely agree with what Nick just said. It should be free and clear from any board member, any candidate, and it should be an independent company that has no ties to the POA. I also believe that we should be able to, as candidates, be able to have someone go in as a proxy for us just to watch the ballot opening and counting. Just send someone in who is not vested necessarily, other than we ask them to do it, if we felt we wanted to make sure, double check.
This is exactly the problem in our community. Someone can make this statement, this innuendo, and suggest that people are doing things improper. It creates paranoia and dissent, and it's just wrong. Sorry.
I've been through many elections with this board and other boards, and our normal practice is that the CPA, whether it be one employed by us or an independent company, provides a lockbox. And we did that through the last election. Some people like to bring their ballot to the POA office. They don't want to mail it in. So there's the box, they put it in, and that's it. To intimate that the board members have the time or the inclination to sit up there and preview ballots as they come in, to me is subversive, and this is part of the problem with social media today. I don't think Nick intentionally meant to harm anything or harm anybody, but it was probably taken out of context and blown up, and here we go. And wasted resources and time and money trying to fix a problem that really isn't a problem.
Thank you, Nancy. Marta, did you want to add?
Yes, please.
Last year there were a lot of problems with our voting procedures, and Marvin Jones has created a new list of procedures that would ensure a fair election and the security of our ballots. My question is, I want a fair election. I'm assuming you do too. Why not put policies in place that ensure that, and then everyone is beyond reproach? Do it right. No more sloppy handling of votes. I have seen myself proxy votes in the hands of people that should not have had contact with them. A folder was opened up right in front of me. I saw it firsthand. There's no innuendo, there's no accusations. I'm not saying there were improprieties. I'm saying we can do better than this, and you deserve better than this.
You know, I totally agree, Nick, that we should not be handling the ballots. And the good news is we have policies in place that don't let us handle those ballots. Now, I can't stop the fact if one neighbor chooses to hand a piece of paper to another neighbor to take it up and drop it off. I can't tell you whether that happens, but I can tell you as a board member, I have never seen, and I am not aware of, any board members handling the ballots, because we do have those things in place. We have a box that's locked that only gets opened, used to be by the CPA, only the CPA left because there's been so much upheaval in the community. So it's going to be a different group this time that's going to be able to do this for us. But again, the same procedures will be in place. There's a locked box. It's checked before it's ever locked. It's empty. And then everything else goes to the other entity that's going to be counting those votes. We don't get to see them along the way. So I totally agree. We shouldn't be looking at them. And we don't, because our policies and procedures are already in place.
All right. Leslie, with a year or more of a lot of negativity towards the POA board, can you name some positive accomplishments since you've been a board member?
That I can do. There's been a lot of great things. When I first came on board, there was the fact of why can't we get a park? What is so hard about getting a park at Village Park? I came on board asking that same question. I figured out what the problems were with the contract. We were able to overcome it, and we're going to get a village park. So I think that's going to be absolutely wonderful for our community. Again, I keep saying we need to bring community back together. We need a place where we can all go that isn't sticky burrs, so that we can all make that happen. We also were able to, one of the things we identified with Harvey coming in is you've got to have a strong database of what the current conditions are of your bulkheads. Because if you're going to make a claim for Harvey funds or for insurance funds or for any of that nature, you need a strong database to begin with. And so we have done a bulkhead database that has been prepared that tells the condition of what they are. Now we get to go through and prioritize and say, okay, now what needs to be fixed and what's going to be better. And then I think that some of the other things that we've done is our Harvey response. When Harvey occurred, we learned a lot from that, but one of the things we did do is we got together as quickly as possible and started saying, what do we need to do? We have floating debris in the canals, and it's scary. There were boards out there with nails and all kinds of things that people could really hurt themselves with. So we got an initial crew out there to start cleaning out those canals and getting at least the top layer off. Now we still need to go underneath and go get the stuff that's sunk down there and all the garbage that's down there. But we started moving it forward, and we started, in spite of whatever happened to each individual's circumstance with Harvey, we started working for the POA itself and figuring out what we could do to make it better.
We also have done a underwater mapping of all the debris that's down there and isolated where these things need to be picked up. Now, granted, some of this debris is laid down. We hope we don't find Edgar Hoover down there, because some of that stuff's been down there a long time because people don't repair their docks. But we've got it all mapped out, and there's a contract being let out that will pick up all this stuff so that paddle boarders, people that swim, jet skiers, boaters, etc., are safe in the canals. We also have a water qualification system that we have the waters tested and make sure that there's no bacteria in that water, because people swim in that water. Our grandkids swim in that water. We have a beautiful community garden, which has spurred someone else to write a grant, so we'll have another community garden. And like I say, I go back to the balanced budget that we've had over the years. We've worked very hard at that. We also have a very sound financial program, which has really built your money, and so we've got a lot of money, folks, that we can apply and use. So if there's a rumor out there that we're gonna raise CAM dues, which has never been done, we're not going to do that, so.
Thank you.
Next.
Anyone else? Marta?
Just a point about looking ahead. I am a long-time scuba diver. I've been diving since 1979. I can guarantee you, if there is a separation of time between you locating items in the water and then going back later to pick them up, they won't be there. I can guarantee it. With the wave action, the wind action, the tidal action in this area, as a diver, I guarantee those things have now moved. You will not find them.
Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll move on. As a board member, will you follow Robert's Rules of Order for board meetings?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We always have, we always will, we just.
So we'll go in order down the table.
Yes.
That was a question? I assume we always do.
That was a question. As a board member, will you follow Robert's Rules of Order for board meetings?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Yes, of course. You follow Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
Yes, we.
I don't know if I agree with that statement. And people who know Robert's Rules of Order know that it has not been followed consistently. I would love to see it followed consistently so that you have a voice and it's not a one-sided discussion. So thank you.
I've served on multiple boards, and Robert's Rules is a normal course of business for a board meeting, and we will continue to serve, and we will continue to follow Robert's Rules of Order.
All right, next question. For all the candidates, please raise your hand if you agree with the following statement. And I will say, we're going to let folks answer this or expand on their answer. The statement is, I support returning bylaws, amending rights solely to the homeowners, and if elected, will participate in any legal board action necessary to enact that change. So a show of hands if you support.
Can you repeat that?
So the statement is, I support returning bylaw amending rights solely to the homeowners, and if elected, will participate in any legal board action necessary to enact that change. So if you support that statement, raise your hand.
Nobody supports returning.
Okay. Would you like me to read it one more time?
Yeah.
I'll comment when I get an opportunity.
Okay.
When you read that statement, I'm assuming that you meant, well, sorry, I know you didn't write it, first of all, but I support the arch and I support returning the bylaws back to 2013, but the way it's written, it almost sounds like we'll take legal action against you. I think they mean acting legally. I'm just trying to interpret, because I'm sort of hesitant to put my hand up and say, oh yeah, I want to sue the board, because that's not the case. But I do support the arch movement.
I don't believe that there's anything improper with allowing a board to amend bylaws. The default provisions in the Texas statutes allow that. There's nothing nefarious about that provision. I do believe at some point it may need to go to a vote so we can once and for all settle these issues. But there is nothing inherently wrong with allowing a board to amend its own bylaws.
Ooh.
I have a question. I wasn't able to follow this legal action. If that insinuates suing the board, I don't think we have to end up with something like that. Instead of legal action, just bring it up for a vote. Do we return the bylaws to the members? Just a vote. We don't have to sue each other.
Yeah.
We don't have to fight about it. Bring it up, put it on the agenda of the annual meeting, we vote, and that's the end of it. Also, I think if you read the statutes, it says that the members can allow the board to do that. The board cannot assume that on their own.
I do not support the arch movement, and therefore I do not support the fact that whatever this question was makes any sense. I believe the board has the legal right to change bylaws. Until I'm shown differently, that's the way I feel.
Let me be clear. They are your bylaws, and you have every right to have a say in their any amendment. And I will stand up for that because I am standing up for you.
Member of the business community, one of the things I've learned along the way is even in a business, not everything that happens for that business or for the good of that business can go out to a general vote to all the employees. We have a similar situation here in the respect that so many times there have been things that happen and you try to get a vote and you can't get enough people to vote. It's not currently right now. We tend to have more activity, but as the years, because we have that ebb and flow, we have years where we just don't get enough people that are involved. I love the fact that we have the involvement. I'd like to see it more positive, but I love the fact. But we don't always have that involvement. That's the reason I believe, not a lawyer, but I think that's why the legislation started changing a little bit, saying, okay, the boards need some ability to change the bylaws and update them when they need to be updated. It doesn't mean that certain things can't still and shouldn't still be taken out to the members. But the board needs a little bit of flexibility too, and we always have to remember that the members are the ones who put the board into that position. You pick the people that you trust that are going to do the right thing for the community, and that's why you pick your board members.
Thank you. Should we get rid of the compliance program and use money for security?
No. Sorry.
No, I don't think we should get rid of the compliance committee. I think we still have more to do to address security issues, but to lose one thing that enhances our property value for the sake of another wouldn't be a good idea in my opinion.
I get asked about the compliance committee a minimum of 2 times a week. Before I moved here, I lived in a neighborhood where multiple houses and businesses were on the National Register of Historic Landmarks. I was on that compliance committee. We had to follow federal rules on historic structures, state rules, city rules, and our own rules. That's how you maintain your neighborhood. As far as that, we had both very strict rules because we had to nationally, and we also could afford the police, and we did not have $8 million in our bank.
I agree. I don't think we need to sacrifice one for the other. I think we have done a lot for the benefit of property values through the compliance. Has it all been to everybody's liking? Not to the more verbal ones, but I would represent, on the board, you represent all of the citizens on the island, not just the ones that choose to complain. There's a lot of people that are very, very pleased that properties are being cleaned up, that people who rent their homes are being asked to clean up in absentia. So I think we are in the right direction as far as the compliance is concerned. Security, I think our local police do an adequate job. Are they here as much as we'd like them to be? No, they have economic issues of their own. Do we need to spend more money on security? I'm still thinking about that. I'm not sure we do.
It is not an either-or question. As far as security, I have been working with Chief Markle directly And out of that discussion has come more patrols on this island. Thank you, Chief. Your safety is a priority, your property values are a priority. And here's the thing, we need a sound, reasonable, fair compliance program that is uniformly enforced. Currently, that is not what is happening on our streets, which is why we had the Yard of the Month get a violation letter. Do I want enforcement? Absolutely. But I don't want it to go to the extreme that you can't go away on the weekend for fear it's going to rain and you get 1 or 2 little tiny weeds crop up. This is about your property values, and of course we maintain them.
Part of being a good leader is being able to look at all the things that need to be done. When it comes to budget time, you'll look at things. Just because you're going to go one route does not mean you sacrifice another. So no, security and compliance do not preclude each other. You have to look and say, what is a good proportion of each one? And make those decisions as a leader, knowing that not everybody's going to be happy with what the decision you make, but you make the decision for the best that you can for the good of the community. I will tell you that I think that what you just said about the compliance folks issuing it for a blade of grass or something of that nature is inappropriate.
Okay, next question. Do you believe background checks should be performed on all board members and felonies disqualify board members?
Yes, I do believe in that. I think that we should all have background checks whenever we have access to that amount of money. You're required to have a background check to work for Walmart or Home Depot. So why wouldn't we have a background check done for each board member?
I have no problem with that. As a federal employee for a United States judge, I have FBI clearance, so sexual rape.
I don't object to that. When I was military, I had a top secret clearance, and so that had to be redone every 3 years. We had spot drug tests, we had everything going on. You have to do that, as you say, to work for Walmart, so why not for us?
I was employed as a public school, Texas public school employee for over 40 years, and then went on to university. We always had background checks of our janitors, cafeteria workers, on down to everybody, myself included. I have nothing to hide. My husband too has top secret security clearance in the military. I think this is one of the issues that has risen out of a lot of suspicion and negativity. But if that's what people want, fine, no problem.
I have yet to work in any business that brings in the kind of revenue that this organization brings in and not have background checks. It is standard procedure. I have gone through, I can't tell you how many background checks because I spend a great deal of time inside the FBI. And there is nothing like an FBI background check. It is unlike anything you've ever seen. And I have no problem with it because I think you deserve to know that you have the right people handling your money.
I think background checks are very good. I think that they should be used properly. And let me give you a perfect example. I'm aware of an individual that has a felony on his record because as a young man, he was shooting lights at a light pole and created a felony offense for him. I do not believe that should preclude him from the rest of his life as a grown-up now, as an adult now, from being able to do things like serve on a committee or serve on a board. You have to look, again, it takes leadership. You have to look at the background results and you have to say, what am I seeing? Does it make sense? I'm a finance person. If someone has a felony and it has anything to do with money or the integrity of what they're doing, I'm not going to hire them because I have to make that leadership decision. But I wouldn't preclude the young man who shot at the light pole has a felony on his record because he was young and stupid.
All right, Kay, Leslie, and Nancy, and of course, everybody has a chance to follow up. Do you agree that board can change, amend bylaws and not the property owners? And with this, I'll tell you, if this is if we have repeat questions in here, I may just read them and then we can skip over them, if you all agree. But I will read them. So do you agree that the board can change, amend the bylaws and not the property owners?
The board can and not the property. Yes, I agree that the board should be able to change the bylaws.
Could you read that last part again?
Do you agree that the board can change or amend the bylaws, and then in parentheses, and not the property owner?
I would say that I agree that the board can amend and change the bylaws because they're supposed to be working on behalf of the community, but I also know that the community can bring forth, there's a method for the community also to be able to bring forth changes to the bylaws, and those too should be respected.
Nancy, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
Anyone else? Marta? Sorry.
The law does say that the board can amend bylaws with the authorization, approval, and knowledge of the property owners. That did not happen. It needs to. Our property owners need to, no, I don't agree with the board just changing the bylaws anytime they want to. We need to have a say in that.
I don't believe that the board should be able to change the bylaws. I'm concerned because it is a possibility that they could decide to pick a series of colours, maybe pink and purple and blue and yellow, and then tell us we all have to paint our houses that colour, otherwise we're not in compliance. And I know that sounds sort of a bit out there, but the fact is they could on a whim do that to us. So I think that the homeowners need to have some say. I also understand that sometimes it's difficult to get people to vote unless they're upset or they get involved or they decide to get involved. So I think we need to make it more conducive to having people invested in the POA and wanting to be part of it or be at least have a voice in it, because I just think it leaves it open. I also understand that we vote board members in to make decisions for us, but I don't believe that's at the level of whether or not my palm tree has brown fronds. So
I do not think the board should be permitted to change the bylaws. As I said, it can be done if the members give them the permission, which we did not do. Why would I possibly give up a voice on how to manage my own property?
Okay, anybody else want to respond?
I just want to point out one thing when we're talking about this. I missed one of the last board meetings because I was sick, and the board made a change to the bylaws, and it was a unanimous decision. And it was a decision because it made sense. It was just a housekeeping item. It was to change our executive director's title, but that was a change to the bylaw with a unanimous decision by all of our board members. So I support what their decision was. It was a housekeeping item. It made sense.
What about when it takes out right?
Okay, so next question is, what is your stance on boat trailers parked in driveway and trimming of palms?
I personally believe we should be able to keep our boat trailers in our driveway. Trimming of palms, I think if I don't have a palm tree, but I don't believe that we should be able to be told to trim the trees to a certain way. I think that's wrong. I think it goes against a lot of botanical information we've come across on it. And I also feel that that's a personal thing. If you buy a plant, how dare someone tell you to trim it? Because the rest of the island, the stuff that's not owned by the POA area, not covered, they don't have rules to trim the trees. Was there something else? No, that was it. Okay, thank you.
Parking boat trailers, and I don't know, okay, if you park your boat trailer in your driveway, parking it in your yard, parking 4 trailers in your driveway, or, I mean, there's a continuum there where, you know, it just takes common sense. What's okay and what becomes unsightly. Two dead jet skis on the driveway for 3 years, something should be done about that. 1 boat trailer, I mean, it's just, that's common sense to me. The palms, I don't know, I trim my palms. I mean, should we have palm police? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's been blown way out of proportion, and I think there might be instances when we get these high winds and people's palm fronds are, you know, blowing around, you know, maybe there is an issue for that, but I think all of that is just got to be common sense.
I don't want to be told what to do with my property and my trees. And especially when the directive is against international suggestions that doing it that way will kill the trees. As far as things on your property, I have no objection. This used to be a fishing community. What I do object to is 4 trucks, 2 trailers and jet skis sitting in the front yard. There is a house a couple of doors from me which has a trailer sitting there. The tires are not flat, they are rotted. The rear axle is broken from the rust. It has not moved for 8 years. That I object to.
Listening to the responses of the past 3 people, this is what the Compliance Committee and the Compliance has been trying to wrestle with, because it's subjective and objective. People do not want to be told what to do on their property. People don't like to be told what to do, period. But there has to be some margin of being a good neighbor, respecting others. You don't want somebody's palm fronds blowing in your yard, in your driveway, causing flat tires. There has to be some modicum of common sense and decency and civility. Again, I agree, some of this has been blown way out of proportion, but some of us visually see the broken down, rusty trailers, and sometimes it's just 1 in a driveway. So this is something, it's a work in progress, folks. And we need help, not negativity.
I agree with Nick on trailers, the broken down stuff, the rusted up stuff, the tires that are completely gone. Okay, fine. On palm trees, I did due diligence and contacted every expert across this country on palm tree health and ecosystem health. I wrote up an article, I submitted it to Parks and Wildlife, and every single expert they have on palm trees, bird habitations, water, fish die-offs, tourism, they said every single point I made was spot on, and their biggest fear was that I was right. Parks and Wildlife wants to come out and talk to the Compliance Committee and talk to the board. That has been shut down over and over and over again. We stand to lose one of our most prominent tourist industries by destroying the habitat for our endangered birds. Take it seriously, but those trees are your property, it is your decision, and it should be left up to you, not dictated to you.
And I thank all of you for those comments, because that's what the Compliance Committee has been struggling with, because everybody has differing opinions. Is 1 trailer too much? Is it 2 trailers? Is it 3? How old can the trailer be? How rusty can it be? I'm still using it. It may be rusty, but it's all I've got. When it comes to the landscaping, the idea is we need to maintain what our property values are. That's the premise that the Compliance Committee uses. And I believe that we do need to look at, does it hurt what the property values are? just proper landscaping, whether it's palm trees, whether it's cutting our grass, whether it's trimming our bushes, whatever it is, we need to maintain proper landscaping. We need to utilize the resources that we out there, and we need to listen to what the experts are. The pamphlet that went out last year was written by one of the same experts that Marta has also said is an expert. So we used his pamphlet as a guide for how to properly trim a palm tree or how not to. There's so many different opinions out there. That's what the compliance committee struggles with, that's what the board struggles with, and that's what we as a community struggle with. So we just have to find a way to find that happy medium so that it doesn't hurt property values, but we can try and reach the majority.
Marta?
One quick comment about this. That pamphlet does not take into account that two major migratory bird patterns converge over the island, and those birds need the habitat of the brown fronds. Very important issue, and Timothy Brochat, who wrote part of that pamphlet, agrees.
We need to move on to the next question. Nancy Tressa, you approve POA money to be given to charities you support. Why?
Again, there's been an evolution of the POA over the years. I have a historical perspective. I've served on the board for a long time. We believed in the past that it was a good thing, something that most of the people wanted, was support of the local schools, the Kiwanis, Del Mar College, because we have people here on the island that go to school there. One of our board members worked there. So the scholarship was made in his name after he passed away. None of this was done nefariously, out of bad faith, personal growth, or money in my pocket or anybody else's pocket. It was something that neighbors, community members, owners, this is the direction that they were in at that point in time. Obviously, maybe it's a minority, but now the direction has changed. So now we're not giving to the charities. We're not supporting local activities. Is that good or bad? In my personal opinion, I think it's bad, but I'm one vote on that board, not 7.
What do the bylaws?
Okay.
allow?
Hey,
what? Excuse me?
Sorry.
What?
Please,
I apologize.
thank you. Anybody else want to respond to that before we move on to the next question?
Sure. A promise was made to you to use the monies and the dues you pay to cover common area maintenance and repair your bulkheads, not to give away our money to other causes. Not saying they're bad causes, but why can't we, if we want to do that, why can't we just run fundraisers on the island? Lisa can tell you, when I want to do a fundraiser for the police department, we did a big shoe drive. People could donate or not donate. There's a ton of worthy causes, but don't use our camp fees for it.
Okay, we'll go to you and then Nick.
I think donations are sort of a personal decision, and we all have causes that are near and dear to our hearts, and we can't give to everybody and for every cause, and so I think for that reason alone, the POA funds are better left to serve the purposes that they're designated for.
I'd like to add something.
Nick is next.
All right, Nick, go on.
I object to giving the money to these groups. They're excellent groups, but if you want to donate money, do it individually and take it off your taxes. Don't use the money I paid for common area maintenance. Use it for your benefit, take it off your taxes. So I pretty much agree with what Kay says.
Okay, and
Over the years,
Nancy, you had.
I've already had my thing. I can't
Yeah, if
talk
you can do
again.
it, 15
Never mind.
seconds.
I'm
15
done.
seconds. Okay.
I have other places.
I've got a question here in my hand that has a personal claim against me and my company, and Nancy is treasurer and taxes. I'd like to give whoever wrote the question the opportunity to read the question, but I'd warn you that it's going to go on record, or you can rephrase this question if you'd like. So I'm going to put it up here on the piano if you'd like to rephrase this question. Leslie Hess, why are people dropping out or being fired on your compliance committee?
Well, let's see. When we started the committee, one of the premises that we started it with was that all of our members had to treat each other with respect. It was actually part of the application that we had. I had some members that left the committee because they felt like one of our members was not abiding by that purpose or that goal that we had in mind. I had other members who chose to participate with the committee but not come to the meetings because they didn't want to be disruptive because they could not get along with the individual. Then I had some more that most recently, this is going to be in my board minutes from the committee, so you'll see it come through, but we had some more that just recently were ready to resign because of this single member. So because we had that situation, we had, at last time that we met, the committee members brought it up again, and they chose to take it to a vote, and they chose to ask that one committee member that was being disruptive to please not participate on the committee itself, and they're going to come back out, they're going to rewrite the application and go ahead and expand it out so that we have some more other members. And the way that they worded it, hopefully I can get this right, is it's okay, it's okay to disagree, but it's not okay to be disruptive. And so that's what's happened with our committee.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, I think this next question, I'll read it, but I think it's already been answered, and if you guys can either agree or disagree, and we'll let you take a shot at it. It's to Leslie Hess. Do you think it is fair to have your name on the ballot 2 places, to vote and to get proxy votes? I believe that was counted earlier.
Ask and answer.
Okay. Also, the next one, Leslie Hess. Why can't POA owners attend your compliance meetings? I think that one has been answered. Do you all agree?
Yeah.
Okay, Walker. Wasn't it a waste of $60,000 to create a MMD that is useless? You're not even on the board, but would you?
I have no idea what that question is.
Okay. Anybody else want to
look it up and research it, but I don't know.
And I will say that
who created it or what it is, or
we will also fact check some of these questions that have figures in them and put out the correct numbers as well. So anybody else want to take a shot at that? All right, Vicki.
In my personal opinion, I believe it was a waste of $60,000 was spent to put together the municipal management district, because effectively it still doesn't cover our bulkheads, so it needs some work.
Anyone else? Marta?
Sure. You can go back and look at the videos. May Beth acknowledged at one of the board meetings that that figure is correct. Our MMD program serves absolutely no purpose. And so that is extremely troubling, because that was very apparent before the $60,000 was spent, because it is not a taxing entity. It was sold to us as being able to get FEMA funds to repair our bulkheads in the event of a hurricane. But the stipulation is it has to be a taxing entity, which it is not. There is no way we can use that vehicle to get loans, because there is no way somebody is going to loan us $10, $20 million for repairs unsecured. It has no assets, it has no income, it has no property, it has nothing. So, yes, as it stands right now, it was a waste.
Now, the saying of hindsight is 20/20 is so applicable here. I wasn't around when that was formed. I can't tell you, that everybody, voted the same way or whether it was a split vote. What I can tell you is from the way it's been explained to us and at our board meetings and stuff to us, which has been open to the community and stuff, is that they were exploring options for this community. They were trying to find ways that we could get access to FEMA funds. They were trying to find ways to ensure that we had ways to make sure our bulkheads were going to be cared for over an extended period of time. It may not ever pan out to be the best thing, as peanut butter and bread, but it was a way that they were exploring. I don't believe that I'm going to go back that many years and say now, oh, it was just a waste of time, because we weren't there and we weren't involved in that part of when those decisions were being made. They made the best decisions that they could make at that point in time, trying to make sure that they were taking care of this community. It may not have been the best decision, I don't know that, but I'm not going to sit and condemn at this point.
Okay, we will move to the next question. Kay Walker, how many board meetings have you been to in the last 2 years?
I've physically attended one. I've watched several on Facebook thanks to our nice video presentation.
Anyone else want to add? We have about 15 minutes, so we've got a lot of questions. So, anybody? All right. Okay, Walker. Why do you criticize owners for seeking information they are legally entitled to?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't believe I've criticized anyone for seeking information. I can't respond to a question like that. It's nonsense.
Does anyone, whoever wrote the question, perhaps you have the wrong name? I'll put it on the piano, let you rephrase the question. Leslie Hess, why does the compliance committee meet in secret at your house? I think you answered it.
We answered that question.
Is everybody satisfied with the, okay.
I will say the house part is actually, just so that everybody knows, one of the things we've got to do is raise the technology at the office. The reason we switched it to my house is truly so we could stick it up on the screen on my TV so that we could actually all see it at the same time. So I'll put in a plea for technology for future.
Okay, I have a little bit of a hard time reading this one. It's small writing, but for standing or incoming candidates, name how long you have been board member, or the standing. How long have you been a board member if you're a current board member?
2 years.
2 years for Leslie.
My best estimate is probably about 8 to 10 years.
Okay, 8 to 10 for Nancy. What have you done, or question, what have you done in your time as board members to benefit the average non-business owner resident on the island?
Well, I would say I think my greatest accomplishment has been agreeing to chair, which I refused, but so that I'm going to rephrase it to agreeing to be the liaison, which Brent and I get into all the time, to the compliance committee, because there was a lot of anger in the room that day I stood up and agreed to do that, even though I didn't want to. I had waterways and canals, and it was a lot more calm. But I will say I've been very proud of the members, and I've been proud to work with those members, trying to reach out to the community, trying to rewrite the letters so that they were a bit more community-oriented. I think that some of the other things I've done is I participated on the interview panel, and I think we can all agree that Becky's been an absolute great addition to what we've brought in, so I think that that has kind of helped out a thing. And then I think the other thing that I've done just for the general community is I've never been afraid to stand up and question anything as it's coming through. Even if it's not the popular decision, whether it's popular among the board or popular among the community, I think that I've always stood up and stood my ground and tried to do the right thing for everybody.
Nancy, and then we'll move on. If you guys can be thinking that are not board members, the question is, what will you do? So we'll go down starting with Vicki, but go ahead.
I've had the opportunity to work with many fine owners, property owners, and community members over the years. And I think my biggest accomplishment is the fact that after each board meeting, I went out knowing more than when I walked in. Because the sharing that goes on in those board meetings, and they're open board meetings, there's no secret meetings. None. The only time we go into executive session is when we can legally go into executive session. But we learn from one another, we compromise with one another. And that if anybody wants to be on this board, that is what you have to do. It is a volunteer organization. It is not easy standing here and accepting barbs and reading things and having your name besmirched. It is not an easy task. So I think my biggest accomplishment is having the fortitude to put my name out there again, willing to represent all of the owners, not just the people in this room.
Okay, Vicki, we'll start with you and work that way, and we'll go to the next question.
Okay, and what I plan to do is I have a 100-day plan set up because I'm a process improvement specialist, which means I look after processes and I work by processes, so everything is a process. My first thing to do, and I hope it to be my biggest accomplishment, is to be able to map best business practices against the POA and what they're doing and what they don't have documented. Look at those gaps and then write the policies and procedures that are fair, that follow laws, that are good business practices to stop things like nepotism or the appearance of nepotism happening, to work with a better bidding process, an RFQ and RFP process, have that actually documented to make sure that all board members have or anyone working in the office goes through a background check. And that's sort of pretty much my first 100 days, and then from there make a plan to go forward.
What I will do is approach every issue with an open mind. And whether I ended up agreeing with you or you, it will be because I've done the research and I've carefully considered it. And so my goal, first of all, is to approach every issue with an open mind. And second of all, to try to heal this community.
One thing I would like to do is this organization and the island has devolved into a them versus us attitude. I would like to get back where everyone has a voice. It is not run by a small group. Basically return it to a property owners association by, for the people.
The very first thing I would do, and I tell you these lists, please don't take it in any particular order, because as someone who used to do outdoor emergency medicine, sometimes you have to do multiple things simultaneously. The first thing we need is a forensic audit. We need to find out where our money has gone and make sure from now on we start with a clean slate and we make sure that money is protected and used appropriately. I would like to very much bring our business and accounting practices up to professional standards and make sure that our tax returns are accurate. I would like to give the right to amend bylaws back to you. You deserve that. The other thing that is very important is we need to get a handle on the crime on the island. I'm working very hard to do that and will continue to do that no matter what. Because your security is important, and I think the most important thing I can say to you is that even if you disagree with me, I will listen to you. I will listen to everyone, because every person in this room, in this community deserves that respect, and through that we will find solutions together. Thank you.
Okay. You guys ready? Well, do you believe a forensic audit of the POA finances is necessary, and why or why not?
I absolutely agree with having a forensic audit. I think that's one of the first things that should be done by an independent company. I know that they have to be very specific on which check registers they're going to do, and I think that that's something that would help the POA as well to heal, because I think then they'd be able to say, well, we've been transparent and here's what we've got, and they should find some mistakes. One of the things that concerned me was that we've been audited by the same company for quite a few years, which is not uncommon. It's fairly common to have the same CPA company, but not once did they ever find a mistake. And I don't sort of believe that's true in any financial world, that there's not a penny out of place. Or I'm not saying, you know, raw with people stealing. I'm just saying people make mistakes. No transposed numbers, everything. So for all those years, apparently we've had perfect books, and I don't think that's true at all.
I have no problem with an audit. I don't want to see us spending a fortune chasing our tails and trying to find a mistake. But certainly an audit would be a great way to get started and start with a clean slate and you know, ease some people's minds if that's what it takes.
I would want a forensic audit done very promptly. Right now, we have had too many checking accounts. We have had expenditures going under lump items, not line items. It says this was spent for maintenance, but what maintenance? I think we have to find out where our money is, found a system that we can follow the money and find out what we're spending on what.
We had the same auditor for a number of years, very renowned firm, and our audits have always been clean with some recommendations. This is not unusual for good businesses to have good audits. I don't understand why there's so much suspicion. Again, I have no trouble with getting another auditor, opening it up, doing another audit. We have an audit every single year.
There is a difference between the annual audit and a forensic audit. I used to do forensic audits. I have taken a look at a few years of our records. We need a forensic audit. I can guarantee you. I have red flares going up 20 directions, not that anybody, I'm not pointing fingers that anybody did anything wrong, but there were problems, and there were a lot of them. And we need a clean slate to move ahead. That is the point. And those records should be transparent. You should be able to see where your money's going.
As a CFO of a company, one of the things that I can tell you is every time you have a change in who the financial person is, one of the things that we always discover is we say, why in the world did they do it that way? We all have some different flares. You know, one person might put something in office supplies, whereas another one says, no, I want those broke out to office equipment less than $100. There's different ways that you can categorize things. It doesn't mean that there is something that was misspent. It just means that one person may want to go to more detail than another person. We find it all the time. I guarantee you, you can put 3 CFOs in the room just like we could put 3 attorneys in a room, and we're all going to come up with different answers because we all look at things differently. That's why we have an annual audit every year. And there has been suggestions for changes along the way because I've seen them, and I've also seen audit adjustments. If you look at the books, there's audit adjustments in the books. There's adjustments in the books each month because we were fortunate enough that our CPA was looking at the books throughout the year and not just at the end of the year. So those adjustments have been occurring, and they're clearly labeled adjustment in the records themselves. I know that because I'd gone and looked at our payroll taxes about a year ago. And so those things are occurring and stuff. I think that sometimes people blow things up because it sounds good, or because it sounds, you know, like, oh my goodness. I think that that's one of the reasons we have an annual audit every single year. It's a common business practice and it's gone well.
All right. right, thank you. What is your plan to improve family activity locations in upcoming year? Start with you.
I currently put on a monthly dinner where I host for next door neighbours if you're on next door. We've also posted on Facebook. I've been doing that for about just a little over a year, I think. Once a month. I also do bonfires, but it shouldn't be up to me. I'm supporting Village Park. I have no other plans at this time as to what to do for, I think the monthly dinners and the bonfires keep me pretty busy.
I'm not sure if you mean as the board, what can the board do? I'm not sure. I think the gardens are a great community thing that brings families together. My own street is just so awesome. We have dinners and we get along, and it's a great street. But I think the park, with bringing the park up to speed and having a better place to gather, I could see us having more, I don't know, festivals, things, fun things for the community to come together.
The same thing that I certainly agree with you both, in that we should have just family activities, a weekend, something as simple as block parties. Just have festivals in the parks, anywhere we can get people together. Right now I'm involved with La Posada, and we should try to work together and expand something like that, and do things just for the good of everybody, including the families. Be it street parties, be it ice cream parties, anything to get everybody out and work together and just have fun.
Last 4 years I've been involved with the community gardens. I've worked with over probably 200 families in that regard. We have also sponsored movie nights, the kids come in their pajamas, and we had them Schlitterbahn. We've had dinners with the PIPA where we hosted Thanksgiving dinners, and members of the community could come in regardless of whether they're business or owners or not. We've had a sundry where we support the Easter egg hunt by being there, not by giving them any money, but by organizing, volunteering, etc. And the list goes on. There's lots and lots of good things that are going on in this community individually, and I don't need to wave my flag and say I've done this or I've done that. That's not what the board is for.
One of the side effects that I am hoping for in having a dialogue in the community and developing a solid neighborhood watch program is to help neighbors get to know each other and be able to do block parties. Another thing that is coming down the pike are presentations that will be free to all islanders, and one of those is going to be one on child safety. And we're going to have the PD come in, talk us through ways of keeping our children safer, ways they can play. We need an island that's a little more family friendly. Never allowing a basketball net in the front. Yeah, well, I don't want kids looking at screens, little digital devices all the time. They should be able to get outside and play. This is an island. This is the no-tie zone. So multiple activities. Start cherishing our families here and our children, and the outgrowth will be wonderful things for them to do.
One of the things I love to do is when you meet someone new that hasn't been on the island, I love to sit there and tell them about all the fun things that you can do on this island, because people don't know about everything that's going on. They don't know where to go look for those fun things to do. We ran into a gal at Snoopy's, and she was new to the island. Her husband had been here, but he didn't participate in a whole lot of activities and stuff, and told her that he didn't think there was much going on. And Brent and I went through the whole list of all the things that you can do on this island, and I think that we as a community need to figure out maybe how to bring that forward a little bit more. I would love to see something like the old welcome wagon from the days that ate some of us. But some of those types of things. But I also think that's why why we're pushing so hard to like bring a village park together, because so that we have some areas that we can do that, and so that we can also take advantage of what we can do at the beach. We've got lots of opportunity there. We have the pavilion. We just have so many different things that we can do. But if we don't reach out to the newcomers, they don't know about all that good stuff. And so I challenge everybody to do that.
Okay, we are about 3 or 4 minutes past 7:30, and we did not make it through all the cards. If there's a card that you didn't get, we're going to include it in the next. We have one more forum, and do we have the date for it yet? Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's February 18, I think you said.
February 18? We'll get that date out. Don't write that down because that may be wrong. But we will include these. If I missed your question, please just come up here and verify that we got it, and we're going to cover it in the next round. Thank you.
15th, February 15th.
February 15th. All right. Thank you all for coming tonight and participating. Thank you all for asking questions and engaging the candidates. And with that, we'll adjourn.
Starry, starry night.